All right, everybody, we are back on Play It Forward with filmmaker Suzana Dinevski, director producer. Sugar People is a film. Susanna, thank you for being on the show. It's very nice to have you.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's great to be here.
Thanks. It was Natasha Prozench. Am I pronouncing that correctly? As far
Yes, I think you have to ask her.
yeah,
It's
I
hard with Slovenian names.
It is. I mean, I know with my name, it's not easy. I'm glad you're on the show. Sugar People is a very well done film. It's, highly professional. It is a very compelling movie. And would you like to set up the storyline? This is totally optional. And introduce yourself in any way before I ask you the three questions?
Well, yeah, I can do a short introduction. The storyline is two people meet at an intersection and they have that what if moment. And at the end, is it really a story that the main character created? Or is it, did it really happen? And also, I mean, I don't want to give out too much of the story, but she has the secret that she's dealing with. So the main character builds kind of her own story, her own narrative to deal with reality, I would say.
Mm,
And
mm.
the visual maybe approach for people to connect is, it's like one of those movies before sunrise, specifically with Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy, when you have like two people that meet and they go into this intellectual conversation, they have these strong connections. But the inspiration for the screenwriter Vladimir Yankovsky and for me has always been um, that moment, when like it can be anywhere. You can be at the store, you can be in the park, and you can be in a restaurant, and um, you kind of like your eyes lock with somebody, or somebody is like in your eyesight, and your fantasy and your mind goes crazy, and 10 minutes later you realize that you're still sitting at the same place, but you kind of like fast forward and saw a glimpse of what your life could be from this moment. It doesn't have to be a person, it can be a situation. So that's what I mean when I say the what if situation.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that's great, and I'm glad you shared that and focused on that because now that you mention it, I'm like, oh, that's the ending. Oh, that's why it ended the way it did. I okay, got it. Um, and to dive into the first question, I feel like setting up the storyline a little more. The storyline is you have a lonely individual, got some complicated circumstances regarding relationship and why she may not be able to sustain a relationship. They're both two young people. I think no matter what age you are, we all have this innate human desire to find a soulmate, to pair up, and to not be alone, but also to experience this rich love affair, this deeper connection with life, and we do that through love. And I think that's something that everybody resonates with as a human being. It's just part of our DNA, part of our desire to eat and survive and live. And, it's a very fundamental raw desire. So when you were handed this script and however it came to you logistically and you had that moment to decide, well, am I going to direct this? Am I not going to direct this? What was the pre-thought? Okay, I want to go to the pre-thought. What was that pre-thought thing that clicked in your head that said, okay, yeah, I'm going to do this, and this is what hooked me.
Well, the hook was an article that I read in a newspaper about a Nigerian soccer player who was playing for a team in North Macedonia, suddenly died of HIV. And of AIDS. And this was article that I read like a long time ago, maybe for 15 years ago. And I was like, okay. And it was really like a topic for a couple of days. And he played for a team in a small town. And then it was like the word, the gossip is, oh, he got these girls infected and nobody claimed the body. So at the end, the guy was buried in North Macedonia. And I said, um, okay, I'm really interested in this ignorance to HIV, because then the conversations that you hear is that, oh, HIV doesn't exist, that it's limited in Macedonia. There's a lack of belief that HIV as a virus ever existed, that it only happens to drug addicts or the homosexual community. And I couldn't believe the ignorance of my own country. And I just wanted to shed some light that it can happen to anybody. And that article was the kind of trigger for me to go and do research. So I was able to connect to the doctor running the HIV clinic, infectious diseases. And I was able to approach her and I said, I want to meet the HIV patient and I wanted to get numbers and I wanted to do research and I wanted to do a documentary film about this topic uh, uh, that Macedonia or the Balkan region is not always connected about, and people talk about war, political instability, but they're human stories, and that these people are overlooked and they're shunned from society and they have to live in silence. So I wanted to kind of expose the social issue and to show that there's a human side also at North Macedonia or the Balkans. It's not just like about, as I said, the war effects of the war, political instability, Roma population. There are actually people living with disabilities that they have, like HIV, that they can't function, they can't be accepted by their family and by their own society. And North Macedonia is a small country. The population is around 2 million. So I was able to meet several people that agreed to talk to me. And I was very moved and inspired that they were able to open up to me and tell me basically their life stories. And they were all very different. They came from different social economic backgrounds, different age groups, and I explained that I wanted to do a film about HIV, and how would that be possible, right? Because they don't want to go public. But I wasn't. It was going on for several years. I wasn't able to get financing all the way to the end, but I really wanted to continue to pursue the awareness of HIV, because I know people think it's the disease of the 80s. I meet a lot of people from the US that tell me, but HIV is not a big deal, you can live with that. Yes, but I still hear stories that people in Macedonia, because they are left untreated, at the end they die. And I just had I just heard that a couple of years ago that somebody had HIV and they didn't get treatment and eventually she passed away from the disease, a disease that it's not really deadly anymore. So I approached a screenwriter, my screenwriter, 𝙎𝙪𝙜𝙖𝙧 𝙋𝙚, and I said, this is my documentary research. I really want to do a film about this, and what can we do? So he kind of like thought about it and he came up with the idea of sugar people, which is a metaphor of, in a way that you want to be loved, you want to be accepted, not only by your own family, as I said, by everybody. You don't want to fight against this prejudice, and you don't want to be lonely in a way, but that's what happens to you with a disease. And it can be applied to any disease. It doesn't have to be HIV. People have a natural kind of behavioral pattern that if somebody is sorry, somebody is going through something and it's bad, if the disease, the closest people disappear. So you always kind of like feel that you're lonely in the fight against something. So we ended up with the short film Sugar People. And the screenplay went through several changes. And I always felt like originally it was just like a straightforward love story, but I always felt like it was missing a piece of the connection with the HIV because it's a short film format and I can go very deep into explaining why and how before and after that my character has HIV. Um, but at the end I was missing, I think, okay, the connection of this person is lonely. She's not afraid of loneliness. And she's kind of like uh, okay with everything that's going on. But then she builds her own story narrative to deal with reality because this is what she wants, this strong love story. She wants to be loved and accepted, and she connects with people, but she always, and it's also her fear, she's not afraid of her fear, but she's contempt, she's accepting it, and she's a strong character. And that's at the end. I changed the ending to be that the beginning is the end, that everything, that love story that you see in the movie, it's really, it could happen, you know, but did it really happen?
Yeah.
Is she seeing her future? Is her projecting her future onto herself? Or is it more like her feelings of, fear and loneliness that, know that, as you said, everybody wants to be loved and accepted. And, you can cliche, but yeah, you can conquer all if you have support. So I don't know, maybe this was a long
No, no, no,
answer
no,
to your
no, not at
question.
all. Stop. No, it was great. And, there's two places I could go with this. And, one is to the next question. And I'll kind of offer you both opportunities. There's the one question is to follow up on this and say, well, what do you think it is in you that desires to champion the underdog or the untold story or the people that are going overlooked? And then maybe that can tie into, maybe not, this can tie into the second question, which is, well, what's the moral of the story? And the moral of the story is, it's relatively complex. You've got the sugar people kind of metaphor where you dissolve in love, and that can be taken into a lot of different places. And certainly a very metaphysical, spiritual, even religious context. Um, and this idea of surrendering to love, and letting go of the ego and shedding the ego. So where are you inspired to, where's your thought inspired to go and answer?
Well, it's for me, it's simple. People want to be heard, and most of all, they want to be seen. And they want to be seen, as I said, family, community, country. And some of them, they, as I said, some of them are fighters. They want to fight prejudice. They want to set an example. But most of all, from all the stories, because as I said, I was able to talk to the people that were getting treatment at the clinic for infectious diseases in Skopje, North Macedonia. And I was able to talk with them. And their stories were heartbreaking. And they all had they were all in a way condemned in a different way. Like they all got to that point. Nobody had the same story, like how they got HIV, but they're all at the same place getting treatment. And it was really hard for, for me, for a stranger to say, hey, tell me what happened, and to open up to me. But when they did, it's just that they want to feel free, they want to be loved, they want to be heard, they want to be seen.
Yeah.
And it's meant uh, not maybe in a bigger sense general population. It's just that it all comes from their families. You know, they want to be accepted for who they are by their
Yeah.
families. So
Yeah.
it's simple to be accepted for who you are. Because if, as I said, if the US, it's not a big deal. In smaller countries, like issues, the social issues like this, they get overlooked over the bigger, because it's always, as I said, it's an area where politics has a major role, and where also the region was affected by war, and um, the results of that, you know, so many years later. So
Yeah.
the human stories, people dealing with um, sickness,
Yeah.
with,
Yeah.
as I said, disability. Um, One thing, maybe this is not related to the interview, but you never see people with disability in the streets in North Macedonia. Why? Because there's nobody has a disability? No, they do, but they keep them at home. And so those are the things. So because I live on between Skopje and Toronto, so I'm able to see outside of my country's mentality.
Yeah.
And I want to be the one who maybe can shed light to the social issue and open up the eyes to a general population. And if this small film can be seen um, around the world at different festivals, you know, it just puts my country on the map, because a lot of people don't know where North Macedonia
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
or that it was part of Yugoslavia. And so and just to fight against some stigma and some issue and some taboo topics.
Well, it's beautiful and important work that you're doing, and it is a beautiful film.
Thank
I
you.
really enjoyed it. And the last question to play it forward is, how have you been personally changed since making the movie?
Well, I've grown with every film, because it takes forever. As I said, the script probably was written, like the documentary, I was pushing it. Oh my God, maybe it was, as I said, 15 years ago. And the thing, it changed me because if I feel a strong connection, see, this is the difference with independent filmmaking and filmmaking in general. If you do independent filmmaking, it really comes from the heart, and you find a way to make it happen, especially if it's a topic that you chose. And the connection is different, and you want to see this through, and you don't want to make it until it's right, but also you need to get some sort of financing to be able to do it. So eventually, after pushing it for such a long time, when I got the financing and then we started doing more changes to the script, you evolved, because I'm older now, and I learn from my mistakes. It's a process. I wish I could say that from idea, from concept to film festivals, it only took a year, but it took more than 10 years from the original concept. You know, okay, I can't do a documentary. What can I do? I can do a short film. Um, because it shouldn't take this long to do short films or even documentary films. But this is the thing with independent filmmaking, that unfortunately it's the financing, and then the crew has other projects, and it's like, but the moment you have the money and the idea is locked, um, you a short film, usually it's like 3 to 5 days. We shot for 5.5 days, but then also the process of post-production, and it also depends on my emotional state at the time, right? Because you change every year. But I I keep evolving and I keep growing from filmmaker, even with this completed project. And I have another documentary feature, The Love Room, about conjugal visits at Macedonia's most notorious prison, 𝙎𝙪𝙜𝙧. They've changed me a lot, because they've been projects that I've been working for 7 years. And maybe to put it into a perspective, when I got financing for both projects from the North Macedonia Film Agency, I was pregnant with my son,
Mm,
and he's gonna be 7 in
mm,
July. So
congrats.
that's how long it took me to
Yeah,
finish both projects, from
yeah,
like the idea to finally they're doing
yeah.
the festival circuit.
Well, it certainly speaks to your tenacity and perseverance. You certainly couldn't have done it without that and your strength of character. An important work of art. Thank you so much, Suzana Dinevski, for being on Play It Forward.
Thank you for inviting me. It's an honor.
Thank you. Very kind. All right, everybody. Till next time. Peace out on Play It Forward. Bye bye.